The subsidiary's manager sneered at me, a person sent from the parent company for an investigation. Useless and demoted, go buy me some coffee, he said. I realized his tyranny wasn't just directed at me, the demoted one, but also at others in the office. Amidst this, the investigation revealed some hidden truths about the manager. Society is built on competition, from school to the workplace. My name is Daniel Miller. I'm 26 years old. I was born into a poor family and have felt the sting of that reality closely. My father was a kind man, maybe too kind. He worked at a tough job, earning little and rarely getting days off. Despite his own struggles, he often covered for his subordinates and came home late. On his rare days off, he did community volunteer work, cleaning from morning till night without pay. I watched my father do this since I was a child. He was a great man with a philanthropic spirit, always eager to help others, sometimes to the point of self-sacrifice. He was like a saint, but good people are often taken advantage of. One day, my father was fired because he took the blame for a subordinate's mistake. He didn't have to, but he did. This dragged my mother and me down with him, leaving our family destitute. The stress took a toll on his health, and he passed away within weeks. While he was a good man, he failed as a father, leaving my mother and me behind. He respected others, neglected himself, and ultimately dragged his family down. Instead of seeing him as a mentor, I saw his life as a lesson in what not to do. Philanthropy yields nothing. Good deeds for others don't come back to you. Self-sacrificing kindness destroys not only yourself but also those around you. People don't live by helping each other, we live by competing. If you keep reaching out to those below, you can't move upward. For my mother, who now supports me alone, I must climb higher. I must survive in a competitive society without destroying my family like my father did. At a large corporate office, amid rows of desks, employees were diligently working. Daniel, about the documents from the day before yesterday, I just sent the data. There were some errors, so please check the corrections as well. I handed the compiled documents to my boss. Daniel, about the presentation materials I asked you to review. They're done. It's good that you summarized the main points, but there are many typos. I've marked them in red, so fix those. Also, change the font color. It's hard to read. I handed the marked documents to my subordinate, prompting corrections. Daniel, the copier is acting up again. It's probably jammed. I'll be free in 12 minutes, so work on something else until then, I told my coworker. I managed the avalanche of tasks coming my way. It's been over 10 years since my father's death, and now, as a working adult, I immerse myself in my job every day for the sake of promotion. At 26, I've rapidly risen to the position of manager, but I am not satisfied. While my job at a major corporation has brought some financial stability for my mother and me, it is still not enough. You never know when someone might leave this world. I can suddenly be gone one day. To ensure my mother doesn't suffer if that happens, I need to save as much as possible. Therefore, in my vibrant 20s, I want to work as hard as I can and climb the ranks as far as I can. I've lived my life striving to avoid ending up like my father, and that hasn't changed even now as a working adult. Then the following week, I was summoned to the president's office and given a direct assignment. An investigation. Yes, it's for one of our subsidiary companies. I want you to join them under the guise of an investigation, the president explained as he sat in his leather chair. May I ask why you chose me for this task? Currently, I handle critical tasks within my department. Although I have fewer responsibilities compared to those in higher positions, I pride myself on having a larger workload than anyone else. If I abandon my tasks to investigate the subsidiary, it's obvious the department's productivity will suffer. Do you feel unfit for the job? The president asked. To be honest, yes, I answered without holding back. Considering the company's overall interest, I shouldn't be the one sent for this investigation. It's more appropriate to delegate it to another person. I see. You are a straightforward person. I don't dislike that. Rather than being angry, the president laughed at my candid response. But you see, I specifically want you to go on this investigation to evaluate you. Evaluate me? What exactly do you mean by that? I've heard a lot about your work. The quality and quantity are both excellent. Your subordinates and superiors speak highly of you. If you continue with the company, you will likely rise to work closely with me, and that too is in the near future. That's why I want to evaluate if you're the right person to work by my side, the president explained, maintaining a fixed smile. It seemed reasonable. But you don't seem convinced, do you, Daniel? His words made my heart skip a beat as if he could see right through me. Indeed, it would be unfortunate for your department if my whim delays your work. I understand that, so let's frame this as a promotion opportunity. Specifically, I'll offer you the position of department head. A promotion skipping the deputy director to become the department head.
It was like dangling a carrot before me, and yet I couldn't help but feel compelled. The president seemed to know exactly what words would move me. Is it all right to decide on such an important position so easily? You already possess the skills for that role. There's no reason to hold back. Well, that is, if you successfully complete this investigation, he said. His words implied there was more to it. It was indeed too good to be true. Such a rapid promotion is often a red flag in stories. Leaping into an unseen risk is extremely dangerous. However, I've humbly accepted. I couldn't afford to let this opportunity slip away. Hello, I'm Daniel, and I joined today. Nice to meet you all, I said as I greeted everyone. The response was scattered and unenthusiastic applause. A few days later, I joined the subsidiary under the guise of a new employee, a role I hadn't assumed in years. The president had instructed me not to reveal that I was there for an investigation from the parent company, but to work strictly as a new hire. It felt more like a spy mission than an investigation. The company lacked energy. The atmosphere was gloomy, and the employees looked utterly exhausted. Nice to meet you, Daniel. A woman who seemed close to my age approached me in the heavy atmosphere. Oh, I'm Nancy, the supervisor here, and I'll also be your mentor. She had noticeable dark circles under her eyes, and her shirt was slightly wrinkled. Her lack of confidence showed in her expression and speech. Nice to meet you, Supervisor Nancy, I greeted her. Oh, no need to be so formal. We're probably around the same age. By the way, how old are you, Daniel? I'm 26. Same as me. You don't have to use formal language then, Nancy suggested in a more casual tone, but I couldn't agree. No, Supervisor Nancy, you're my superior and senior, so I'll stick with formal language. Daniel, you're quite serious, Nancy replied. Suddenly, a loud male voice boomed through the office. Nancy, why are you slacking off? Everyone in the office flinched as if prey caught in the gaze of a predator. The source of the voice, a stocky middle-aged man, stomped over to us. Sorry, Thomas, we have a new hire today, so I was. That doesn't excuse slacking off. Get back to work, the man, who was the department head, ordered Nancy with a domineering attitude. He turned to me. So you're the new guy? Yes, my name is Daniel. Nice to meet you. What have you been doing until now? Still living off your parents at this age? No, I previously worked at one of our affiliated companies. I hid the fact that I was there for an investigation, as I explained, and the manager looked at me with a mocking smile. Huh, so you're a demoted incompetent. If you're going to work under me, make sure you don't get fired. Now go buy me a coffee. Understood. I see the reality of this company becoming clear. The employees are under immense pressure from the autocratic manager. It's like a small dictatorship here. This investigation might be troublesome. Supervisor Nancy, sorry, it's you, Daniel. What's up? I'd like to start working. What should I begin with? Even though I'm here under the pretext of an investigation, as an employee, I have responsibilities. Okay, I'll send you some documents. Could you compile them? Understood. Oh, and your desk is next to mine. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. With a sense of deja vu and her weak smile, I sat at my desk, glanced through the documents, and immediately began working. 15 minutes later, I approached Nancy. Supervisor Nancy. What's up, Daniel? Is there something you don't understand? No, I finished. Please check it. It hasn't been long, Nancy said skeptically, looking at my computer where the neatly compiled financial documents were displayed. I've also adjusted the table format to make it clearer. Was that unnecessary? No, it's really helpful. Daniel, you can really work. Not enough to be praised by you, Supervisor. The work here is similar to what I did at my previous department in the affiliated company, so I didn't find it challenging. Well, you're pretty good for a newbie. As I was talking with Nancy, Thomas, who had been eavesdropping, interrupted.
If you're that capable, you can handle this work too, right? With a smirk, the manager slammed a huge pile of documents onto my desk with a loud thud. Just so you know, these need to be finished today. If you can't, then work overtime to get them done. Wait, Thomas, Daniel just started today, and giving him this much work all at once is... What, are you defying me, Nancy? No, that's not what I meant. Then shut up and do your own work. And you, rookie, make sure you finish this by today. The manager spat out his orders and returned to his desk. I flipped through the mountain of documents to check their contents. This was clearly not the kind of work a newbie should be doing. It was the manager's work that he had dumped on me. Whether it's harassment or a tough initiation, it's a cruel move. Are you okay, Daniel? It's impossible to finish this on your first day.
I'll do it for you, Nancy offered, seeing my slightly furrowed brows in frustration. She had her own work, and taking on this task to finish everything by today was impossible, even if I overestimated her abilities. No problem. For this amount of work, I don't need a whole day. Just before lunch break, I handed the completed stack of documents to the manager. What? Don't be ridiculous. If you doubt me, please check. The manager glared at me suspiciously, but I stood firm. He flipped through the documents with an annoyed expression, which quickly turned to astonishment. This is impossible. There's no way that amount could be finished today. You told me to finish it today. Why are you surprised? Shut up. Now for your next task. Before that, please look at this document. I placed a sheet of paper on his desk, and he tilted his head in confusion. What is this? It's a document that was mixed in with the ones you gave me earlier. It's a report you wrote, but it had many issues, so I took the liberty of correcting it. The key points are not clear, and the introduction is too long. It needs to be concise for the message to be understood. Also, there are many typos. You meddling. I've highlighted the corrections in red, so please make the necessary changes if possible by today. The manager's face turned red with anger and embarrassment. If those at the top don't do their jobs properly, it affects those below. Mistakes like these need to be pointed out regardless of the position. Excuse me, I'm leaving for the day. On my first day, at the end of the regular working hours, I had already finished the tasks assigned by the manager in the morning and afternoon. I completed my work and helped Nancy with hers. With nothing else urgent to tackle, I decided to leave. Oh, Daniel, wait a moment. As I was about to leave, Nancy, who was also getting ready to go, called out to me. Do you have time after this? Thanks to you, I can leave without any overtime today. I was wondering if you'd like to grab dinner together. It's okay if you can't go. An invitation to dinner? I usually avoid socializing with colleagues outside of work, but this could be an opportunity to learn more about the workplace and ensure things run smoothly. I'd love to join you, I replied. Nancy smiled happily. If we're going out for dinner, I know a good place. The restaurant I chose is a French place often used for client entertainment. It's pricey, but the private rooms make it easy to talk. It's the perfect place to get information from Nancy. This place looks expensive. I hope I have enough money, she said, glancing around the opulent interior with a hint of worry. I'll pay, so don't worry about it. But I wanted to treat you as a thank you, so I should. I chose this place, so I'll cover it. Consider it my thanks. Nancy didn't realize it, but this is part of my job. It won't be covered by expenses, but it's my responsibility to pay. Though Nancy seemed slightly uneasy with my response, I led her to the usual private room. Jumping straight into business would be awkward, so we ordered food and made small talk until the food arrived. May I ask you something, Supervisor Nancy? Are you dissatisfied with the company? That's a sudden question. Well, it would be a lie to say I have no complaints. The workload is heavy, there's overtime every day, and our boss is, well, you know how he is. Maybe it's my own fault for being so clumsy. Nancy gave another weak smile. Have you ever thought about quitting? Honestly, I've wanted to quit many times. There were even darker thoughts than quitting, but sorry, you probably didn't need to hear that. Then why don't you quit? From the moment I first saw Nancy, I understood she wasn't in a good mental state. Continuing to work at this company wasn't beneficial for her. Switching jobs would offer more advantages. Without hesitation, Nancy responded, if I quit, it would make things harder for my colleagues and subordinates. Thinking about them keeps me going.
I saw the look in Nancy's eyes and felt a strong sense of déjà vu. It was the same look I often saw as a child, the eyes of someone who believed in living for others and saw self-sacrifice as an absolute virtue. The same eyes as my late father. Realizing this, I couldn't help but furrow my brow. I suppressed the rising feeling of disgust and tried to maintain my composure. Daniel, you're so kind, Nancy said with a smile. Kind? Me? Yes, you've been listening to me sincerely. That's not. I tried to deny it, but the words got stuck. Now that I think about it, I intended to ask about the company, but I ended up asking about her. And even though it's your first day and there's so much you don't know, you've helped me with my work and were considerate of the other employees. It's clear to me that you're a kind person. I was just doing my job. I didn't intend to be kind to anyone. That maybe being kind to others is just natural for you. Her words confused me. I never intended to be kind to anyone. I only interacted with people as part of my job. In a competitive society, I had discarded unnecessary kindness and involvement. I'd never once compromised that belief, so why do I feel so unsettled inside? A week has passed since I started this investigative assignment.
I've had no trouble with the regular duties, and the investigation is progressing smoothly. This morning, after checking something with the accounting department, I reported to work as usual. Oh, good morning, Daniel. Supervisor Nancy, looking healthier since I reduced her overtime, greeted me. Good morning, I replied as usual. Since the dinner on my first date, I've been avoiding her a bit. Her words that day have stuck in my mind. Her casual comments seem to challenge the very foundation of my personality. I'm not sure if I feel disdain or fear towards her. Even though I want to keep my distance, it's impossible with her as my mentor and our bests being next to each other. What a dilemma. Is something wrong? If you need help, well, I'm here. Nancy reacted instinctively to my muttered complaint. No, it's fine. This isn't something the cause of my troubles can help with. At that moment, another problem arose. Hey, Daniel. A loud voice echoed through the office as soon as I arrived. It was Thomas, my current manager. What is it, Thomas? I stood up and asked in front of his desk, and he briefly smirked. What does it mean? What's the deal with these documents? I asked for the day before yesterday. Thomas pounded his hand on the documents on his desk, clearly displaying his anger. Was there a mistake? Yeah, a big one. This contract with our client has errors in the terms. I glanced at the document he shoved in my face. Sure enough, there was a mistake. However, it was a mistake I had no recollection of making. This is a major client. The documents have already been sent, and do you realize how much the company will lose if this deal falls through? Do you, Daniel? The documents I handled have been tampered with. It's obvious who did it. The manager wants to pin the mistake on me since my first day. I've repeatedly pointed out his mistakes, wounding his pride. This is his petty revenge. You don't think you can get away with this, do you? Get on your knees and apologize. If you don't, you're fired. This is beyond childish and foolish. It feels like talking to an oversized kindergartner. I refuse. If you have nothing else, I'll return to work. I'm not stupid or idle enough to engage with such nonsense. I need to check if the erroneous documents were actually sent to the client. If they were, I'll need to send an apology email and the corrected documents. I was planning the next steps in my head when he interrupted. Wait, Daniel, do you really want to get fired? As I turned away, the manager continued shouting, My uncle is the vice president of this company. I can have you fired in an instant. Go ahead, I replied. The manager looked taken aback. If you want to fire me, feel free to do so. Even if you take such drastic action, it won't particularly trouble me. If it's an unjust dismissal, I can take legal action or report this to the president as part of my investigation. In such a case, it's the manager who will likely lose his job. I have no intention of stopping him from shooting himself in the foot. You really mean it? You'll end up on the streets? Yes, do as you please. Wait, a high-pitched voice interrupted my dismissive response. I turned to see Nancy looking serious. Actually, those documents. I was the one who made the mistakes. Out of nowhere, she said. I thought it would help, so I did Daniel's work for him, and I made the mistake. I'm really, really sorry. Nancy took the blame upon herself and continued to apologize profusely.
What are you doing, Nancy? The manager, momentarily shaken, quickly switched his target and began yelling at her. As long as he could restore his pride, it didn't matter who he yelled at. You think you'll get away with this, you low-level employee? I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Please just don't fire Daniel. Then you quit in his place. You caused the company losses. You need to show proper remorse. To which Nancy replied, Yes, I understand. If Daniel can stay, I will leave the company. She declared her resignation without hesitation. She took the blame for a mistake she didn't make, sacrificing herself for someone she had just met. It's truly frustrating. I felt turmoil inside my chest. The discomfort was almost overwhelming. Supervisor, there's no need for that. It's okay. I'll handle it. You don't need to worry. Daniel, why go this far? The person she's protecting is just a colleague. There's no reason for her to bear such a huge disadvantage. Then submit your resignation and get out immediately. Wait a moment. I interrupted the manager who continued shouting. I pulled a folded piece of paper from my pocket and placed it gently on his desk. This pointless charade needed to end. What's this paper? It's the recent accounting records of our department, which I got from the accounting department this morning. There are several suspicious expenses without corresponding receipts. Do you know anything about them? What? I have no idea what you're talking about. Cross-referencing with past employee schedules, these expenses coincided with your business trips and meetings with clients.
That's just a coincidence. I don't know anything about it. Additionally, despite the schedule indicating business trips and meetings, there are no records of the actual business discussions. All we have are records of trips. What are you implying? I answered the manager's question honestly. You've been embezzling company funds, haven't you? When confronted with this fact, the manager visibly panicked. You've also been using company funds for personal expenses. We found receipts under the company name. That can't be. The vice president made sure to handle it. So the vice president was involved too. I had suspected this ever since I learned that the manager was hired through connections. With this admission, the manager could no longer deny it. You are the one who will be fired, Thomas. With those words, the manager was left in a state of shock, collapsing to his knees on the spot. His downfall was of his own making. There was no room for sympathy. This absurd charade had finally come to an end. Oh, I guess I ended up being helped again. How embarrassing for a supervisor, Nancy said to me with a bitter smile. Why did you do that? I asked as calmly as possible. Well, I thought it would turn into a big problem, so I wanted to help, she said. The one who would have been in big trouble was you. I shouted emotionally, surprising Nancy. Even I didn't expect to yell like that. Why do you so easily try to help others? Why are you willing to sacrifice yourself? Why do you neglect yourself like that? The words came out like a torrent of sadness from the depths of my heart. I saw Nancy as a reflection of my late father, a father who protected others and ultimately lost his life due to self-sacrifice. I could never respect my father, who served as a negative example. Seeing glimpses of his behavior and her actions was unpleasant, painful, and sad. Stop it. I don't want that. Even so, I will help you, Daniel, she declared without hesitation. It might be meddling, but I can't just look away if you're in trouble. I'll sacrifice myself to help you. Why would you do that? Because, Daniel, you always look so lonely, she responded with a compassionate gaze. You seemed like you were forcing yourself from the start. I don't know why, but you looked like you were enduring something, like you were on the edge. It seems like you're carrying some pain and have to hide your true self. That's why I feel compelled to help you. Her words struck a painful chord within me. They brought back memories and emotions I had tried to forget and bury. I always loved my father. He was kind to others, always smiling, and I admired him more than anyone. I bound forgiven him for the hardships he caused my mother. I don't believe everything my father did was right, but even now, I am proud of him. I lived my life hiding those feelings, pretending to be someone else, only for her to see right through me. That's why I can't forget her words from that day. What I desperately tried to hide, she easily found. I disliked her for it.
3 days later, on Monday after the weekend, I was called to the president's office to report on my investigation. I briefly explained how the embezzlement came to light, the manager's immediate dismissal, and the severe punishment for the vice president who had helped cover it up. Yes, the results were mostly as expected. You've done an excellent job, Daniel. Did you know about this situation, sir? No, not the details. I had only heard some dark rumors from that subsidiary. The president smiled, but there was an elusive eeriness to his expression. So you sent me to investigate because of that? Yes, but it ends today. While the results were somewhat predictable, the speed at which you progressed was faster than expected. What about evaluating me? How did that turn out? The primary purpose of this investigation was to assess my abilities. Oh, that was just a pretext, so don't worry about it. I've known about you for a long time. Then why did you assign me this job? Actually, I just wanted to dump a troublesome task on you. Sorry, Daniel. I slightly furrowed my brow at the president's nonchalant explanation, expecting a deeper reason. Don't be mad, Daniel. I'm not mad, just a bit annoyed. You're as honest as ever, the president laughed brightly, remaining as elusive as always. Anyway, from now on, I'll be counting on you as the department head as promised. I'd humbly accept, I said. The president keenly observed my reaction. Oh, you don't seem very happy. That's not true. It's rare for an honest person like you to lie. Have you had a change of heart? Nothing significant. I have no intention of distorting my feelings now. Sure, that day I exposed my true feelings, but that doesn't mean I should deny who I've been. I will continue to strive for promotion to survive in this competitive society. I will make necessary choices and eliminate anything unnecessary. I won't change. Never. I said this to avoid making the same mistakes that caused my family so much pain. The president smiled slightly. I see. That's just like you. His words had a certain implication, but I let them pass. Well, I look forward to your continued success, Daniel. Thank you. Excuse me. After saying goodbye, I turned to leave.
Just then, the president called out to me. I forgot to mention, but I have a surprise for you. Look forward to coming in tomorrow. Puzzled by his words, I left the president's office. Once alone, the president sighed and took out a photo from his desk drawer, reminiscing. In the photo, a younger version of the president stood beside another man. Your son really does resemble you, Miller. The president murmured to himself, lost in the past. The next day, I returned to work after a week and a half away. Though the investigation period was short, my absence felt lengthy. I was sure my work had piled up. The president's parting words lingered in my mind, but I focused on getting back to my routine. Good morning, I'm Nancy, and I'll be starting here today. As soon as I entered the office, I was greeted by a familiar face. It was my former supervisor and mentor, someone I disliked. Pleased to meet you, Daniel. We met again, but now with reverse roles.